My name is Christopher Mercado, and I'll be giving you an informative speech on wills and powers of attorneys. Next slide, please. Alright, estate planning. Basically, estate planning is a fancy way of saying a will. Do you guys know what a will is?
More or less.
More or less, somewhat. Alright. Basically, a will is a legal document that states what will happen to your property in the event of your death. So basically, who's going to receive your stuff, who's going to inherit your stuff in the event of your death. That's what a will is. That's the legal document. Next slide. Do I need a will? You might need a will if you have children and want to appoint a legal guardian. Basically, unfortunately, what happens some of the time is that if you don't appoint a legal guardian, say, for example, maybe you have sole custody of your child, or maybe in the event of your death, you and your spouse kill yourselves. There's no legal document that states who's going to take care of that child in the event of both of you guys' death. So you might want to appoint a legal guardian. Maybe you want grandma to take care of those kids, or maybe you want your sister, or just some relative friend. You can appoint whoever you want, but basically you want to appoint a legal guardian so that your children don't end up in foster care. Point number 2: if you have a part ownership in a farm or a business, basically you want to get a will if you have any kind of business, just so that in the event of your death, somebody else can inherit that business and everything that goes along with that. Alright? The third thing, you might want to get a will if you have certain items that you want to have distributed to certain people. Alright? So basically, maybe you have a gun collection, a stamp collection, or anything like that. Maybe your father has a painting that has sentimental value to you and your family, that maybe you want that to go to a very specific person. All right, you might want to get a will for that. All right, if something like that, you possess something like that, you might want to get a will. You may not need a will if you are married, have no children, and want everything to go to your spouse. The reason you don't need a will for this is because under state laws, if you die and you're married, everything will go to your spouse anyways. So you don't need a will for that, alright? Number 2, if you are not married, have no children, and want everything to go to your parents. So basically you're just a single guy or a single lady. In the event of your death, if you pass away and you want everything to go to your parents in equal shares, by state laws, that would automatically happen. So you wouldn't need a will for that, okay? It's only if you needed, maybe you wanted a specific item to go. For example, you want a specific item to go to a specific brother or sister or something like that, alright? Next slide. What if I die without a will? Basically, a few things happen, alright? The courts will freeze all your assets. Like we talked about a little bit earlier, if you have any children, those children, if you haven't appointed a guardian, both of the parents are deceased, those children can go to foster care if you haven't appointed a guardian. Alright? Also, the courts will freeze all your assets and take control of all your properties, and they'll basically try to find the next relative to give those properties to. So and it's not, when I say property, I don't mean just houses. It could be vehicles, it could be anything, alright? So that they'll be taking all your possessions and giving them to the next relative that they find. So if you have no parents, they'll try to find a brother, sister, cousin, whoever to give that stuff to. Next slide. Alright, also in your will, you can have an advanced medical directive. An advanced medical directive basically states that in the event that you're incapacitated, you become a vegetable or anything like that, it's a legal document that tells the government or the doctors or whoever what you want them to do with your body. Whether maybe you're in a vegetable and you're in life support, maybe you will put there, keep me alive, or have experimental treatment on me, whatever, keep me alive for X amount of time, or you might want to state, just pull the plug, just let me die. Alright? Or the other thing you can do is appoint somebody to take care of those medical issues for you. In the event that you become a vegetable or something, if you want to give that responsibility to a loved one or someone that you trust and know that can handle those responsibilities for you, or make those decisions for you, you can do that as well. Alright, healthcare power of attorney, it's a little different from the advanced medical directive. The healthcare power of attorney is basically just a power of attorney that kicks in when you're hospitalized. When you can't take care of your stuff, you have somebody appointed that can pay your bills and handle your regular business for you, alright? Next slide. We have different powers of attorneys. You can get any power of attorney customized to your very specific needs. All right. There are 3 types of power of attorneys that I will talk about. There's a general power of attorney, a special power of attorney, and a power of attorney for the care of children. All right. A general power of attorney, it's a very powerful power of attorney. It basically gives somebody the full power to do anything on your behalf, basically. All right. So it gives somebody the power to be you. All right, very risky, and sometimes some institutions won't even accept them because they're so broad on their powers, right? A special power of attorney is it's a power of attorney that you give someone a very specific power to handle a specific thing. For example, I might want to give my father a special power of attorney to drive my vehicle, sell my vehicle, register my vehicle, and insure my vehicle. Anything that has to do with my vehicle. But that person will not have access to any of my bank accounts or any other information. They wouldn't have power to do anything else. All right, so that's what you can use a special power of attorney for. And you can be very specific on what you want them to do. All right. The third one, the child care power of attorney. That's for children. Once again, when we go back to that scene where maybe you're in a car accident or something like that, and both of you guys are incapacitated. You know, your child is hurt. And they need to do some, medical treatment on your child, right? And it requires a parent's signature or parent's consent to do that. Well, if you guys are out of town or for whatever reason you can't be there, you might want to appoint somebody who can sign for those documents to allow somebody to perform medical procedures on your child. Somebody has authority to sign over that, all right? So that's something to keep in mind. Next slide. These are just 2 examples I just wanted to put on here for the powers of attorneys. The general power of attorney, like I say, is very broad and they've been known to be abused at times. So just be very careful on who you're going to appoint these powers to. These are 2 examples of some of the times that they've been abused, basically. Well, when I worked at the legal center in the Marine Corps for a little while, we actually had these 2 incidents happen. First one, Marine designated his mother as his agent. While he is deployed, his mother files for divorce in his name and serves his wife with divorce papers. So basically, this Marine did not want to be divorced from his wife, but his wife divorced him from his, his mother divorced him from his wife anyways. So, and this was actually all legit because she had the power to do that. It's an unfortunate situation that you had to come and take care of later. Obviously. The second one, sailor designated his father as his agent, and when he returns back from deployment, he finds out his father had emptied out his bank account, leased a truck at 25% interest rate, and incurred $30,000 worth of debt. So once again, these are just some brief examples. Just be mindful of who you're going to give these powers to, alright? Next slide. Alright, this concludes my presentation. If you guys have any questions, we'll answer them after the presentation is over.